Yes, in some ways it sounds very counterintuitive. The last thing you want to do is feed your demons because that would make them bigger. But in fact, our demons, and what I mean by demons is our fears, our physical suffering, whatever it is that takes our energy, our demons gain strength when we fight them. And so the notion of feeding, not fighting, comes from an 11th century woman, teacher from Tibet, and her name was Machik Lapdran. Machik means one mother, and Lap was the name of her family, and Drun means torch. And she was extraordinary and unusual even in Tibet, and her method was considered unusual even in Tibet, because Tibet, like many religious practices, focuses on protection. We pray for protection, that nothing bad will happen to us, and so on. So, in fact, she said, one take me, eat me is worth 100,000 protect me, save me's. And so what I've found personally was that the traditional practice, which I'll play a little bit of today just so everyone can experience what that's like. But for most Westerners, the traditional practice, which is called Chöd, which means severance or cutting through, that practice is somewhat inaccessible. It's sung in Tibetan with a drum and a bell and so on. So over the years of teaching that traditional practice, I developed a 5-step method called Feeding Your Demons, which is very accessible to Westerners. And it doesn't even feel particularly Buddhist when you do it. It's simply a way to meet, nurture, and transform those elements of ourselves, those parts of ourselves that we would normally disown and try to eliminate. I don't actually, because of the results that I see from people doing the 5-step process and also the results from doing the traditional practice, they are somewhat different, but the gestalt of the process is really the same. And I see so much more depth of personal transformation when people do the 5 steps than when they try to sing something in Tibetan where they're hardly knowing what they're singing while they're doing it and so on. It could be arguable, that if for a Tibetan to do the 5 steps of feeding your demons, maybe wouldn't be as effective as doing the traditional practice. I don't know, but I will be teaching this now in the university in Bhutan. The Royal University in Bhutan has asked that this become a core element of their training of counselors in Bhutan. So it's kind of interesting that this teaching came here and now it's going back. And it will be interesting to see if there are people there who practice the traditional practice of Chöd and what they'll think about feeding your demons. But one of my students was there setting up this program, and he led the faculty and some of the students through feeding your demons, and they were just blown away. They were just said, it's amazing. We have to incorporate this into our program. So it's hard to say, really. Okay. So what I would suggest for everyone who's participating is that you find a comfortable seat and that you set up another seat in front of that. It could be a cushion, from cushion to cushion. It could be a chair, whatever feels most comfortable for you. So set up that seat and then choose one seat to sit in, and the other seat would be facing you. And then we do this practice with our eyes closed as much as possible through the process, because it helps to keep you focused and to keep you aware of the sensations that you're having in your body, which you will be continually asked to be aware of. So we'll begin by closing our eyes. and bringing the attention to the breath. And then breathe into any physical tension that you're holding in your body. Breathe into it and release it with the out breath. Feel where you're feeling physical tension in your body. Breathe into it. Imagine the breath is going there and release it with the out breath. And now notice any emotional tension that you're holding. Notice where you're holding emotional tension in your body. Breathe into it and release it with the out breath. This is emotional tension. Breathing into it and letting it go on the exhalation. And now mental tension, any worries, concepts, thoughts that are making it difficult for you to be completely present right now. Notice where you're holding mental tension in your body. Breathe into it. And allow it to be released on the out breath. Breathing into mental tension and letting it go. And now we'll begin by generating our motivation, our aspiration to do this practice for the benefit of all beings. So reaching deep into your own heart, generating a heartfelt intention to do this practice for the benefit of yourself and all beings everywhere. And now we'll begin the actual 5 steps. The first step is to decide on what demon you want to work with today. What I would suggest in making this decision is to think about what's really bothering you now. Is it a relationship issue? Is it something physical? Is it maybe a life question? Is it a fear? Is it a core demon, a core emotional demon that's up for you now? So let's just take a moment of silence so you can think about what's taking my energy right now? What's draining me? What's eating at me? Now, in thinking about whatever issue that you decided to work on today or whatever demon, perhaps recalling an incident when this demon came up in your life, or perhaps it's up right now today. And as you're thinking about it, scan your body and notice where in your body you feel it. Where is this located in your body as you think about it? Where do you feel you're holding it in your body? Notice where you're holding that issue or that demon, that fear, whatever it is, in your body. And then bring your attention to that place in your body. If this were to have a color, what color would it be? What shape does it take in your body? What is its consistency or texture? What is its temperature? And now intensify this sensation with its color, its shape, its consistency, and its temperature. Intensify that sensation. And now imagine that color with its texture, its temperature, and so on, that whole mass that's in your body moves out of your body, and you can make a gesture if you want to. It's moving out of your body and becoming personified as a being in front. Personified as a being with arms and legs, a head, color. Notice if this being that's been personified in front of you has a gender. Does it have a gender? Notice its size. How big is it? What's the density of its body? What's the surface of its body like? And now notice the look in its eyes. What's the look in its eyes? What is its emotional state? What is its emotional state right now? What is its character like? And now notice something about it that you didn't see before. Now we're going to ask the demon 3 questions. I'll give you them one at a time, and then you can ask them either out loud or under your breath. What do you want? What do you want? What do you really need? What do you really need? How will you feel if you get what you really need? Now, having asked the questions, get up, change places, and turn toward where you're sitting now. So face your current seat. So get up and sit in the chair or cushion opposite you. Take a moment to come into the body of the demon. Become the demon. Notice what it's like to be in the demon's body. How does that feel? And notice what your normal self looks like from the demon's point of view. Once you really feel yourself in the body of the demon, answer those questions. I'll give you the beginning of each answer, and then you complete it. What I want is, what I really need is, what I really need is, if I get what I really need, I will feel. If I get what I really need, I will feel. And now come back into your original seat, remembering particularly the answer to the last question of when I get what I really need, I will feel. So now come back, change places, and sit in your original seat and take a moment to come back into your own body and see the demon in front of you again. Come back into your own body, see the demon. And now imagine that your own body dissolves, and it dissolves into a liquid nectar. And that nectar has a color, And the quality of that nectar is the feeling the demon will have when it gets what it really needs. The quality of the nectar is the feeling the demon will have when it gets what it really needs. So dissolve your body into that nectar. Notice its color. And now that nectar flows toward the demon, and the demon receives it, is able to take it in, to be nurtured by it. Notice how the demon takes it in. It may take it in through the surface of its body. It may drink it. Maybe it's poured over the body. Just notice what happens as the demon is nurtured by the nectar that has the quality of the feeling the demon will have when it gets what it really needs. There's an infinite quantity of nectar. The demon's being fed to complete satisfaction. It's able to take it in. And as you're feeding it, notice what's happening to it as it's being nurtured. Being fed to complete satisfaction. Notice if it's completely satisfied. If not, offer more nectar. When it's completely satisfied, notice what's happened. Has the demon morphed into something else? Has it disappeared in some way? What does it look like now? If the demon has morphed into another figure, another kind of being, ask that being, are you the ally? It may be and it may not be. So we'll take a moment. If the demon has morphed into another kind of being, we'll ask, are you the ally? Are you the ally? And listen to the answer. If the demon says no, or if when you fed the demon to complete satisfaction, it disappeared, we will invite the ally to appear. Take a moment and invite the ally to appear. Now notice the details of the ally, whether it's the being that remained when the demon was completely satisfied, or it's the being that you invited. Notice the size of the ally. Does the ally have a gender? Does it have a color? Or is it wearing garments of a certain color? What's the density of the ally's body? And the surface of its body? Notice the look in the ally's eyes. What's the character of the ally like? And now we're going to notice if there's something about the ally that we didn't notice before. And now we'll ask the ally some questions. I'll give you them one at a time, and then you ask, how will you help me? How will you help me? How will you protect me? What pledge do you make to me? Pledge do you make to me? How can I access you? And now again, change places. Having asked those 4 questions, change places, sit in the opposite seat, and feel what it's like to be in the body of the ally. Notice how that feels. To be in the body of the ally. To be that size, that gender if it had one, of that character, that density. And notice what your normal self looks like from the ally's point of view. And now, as the ally will answer those questions, really being in the body of the ally. I'll give you the beginning of each answer, and then you can repeat the beginning and then answer. I will help you by I will protect you by, I'll protect you by, My pledge to you is, my pledge to you is you can access me by and now come back into your original seat. See the ally in front of you and come back into your own body. Sitting in your original seat, see the ally in front of you. Take a moment to really come into your own body and see the ally in front. And then feel the energy of the ally streaming into your body. And that energy goes into your body and goes into all the cells of your body. Really feel it in a very visceral way, this penetrating energy of the ally. And now imagine that the ally dissolves into light. Notice the color of that light. And that light dissolves into you. And as that light comes into your body, it's as though it's washing all of the cells of your body with luminosity, with that color, that luminous color going all the way down to the tips of your toes, your legs, your arms, your core of your body, your head, that luminous energy of the ally in your body. Notice what that feels like. And now your own body with the integrated energy of the ally also dissolves. Your whole body dissolves. And then simply rest in what's ever present after the dissolution. Just rest. And now come back into your body, keeping your eyes closed, and recall the energy of the ally in your body. And notice how it feels. And as you open your eyes, keep an awareness of the energy of the ally in your body. Open your eyes and look around the room and keep an awareness of the energy of the ally in your body. And notice how this feels so you can recall it. And then we'll dedicate the merit of this practice, which means we offer all the positive energy that we've accumulated together to benefit all beings everywhere. Thank you. That's the practice of the 5 steps of feeding your demons. Yes, and the 4th step has several parts. So the first step, you find it in your body. The second step is after you've asked the 3 questions, changing places and becoming the demon and answering those 3 questions. The third step is when you come back into your own body and you dissolve it into the nectar, which has the quality of the answer to the 3rd question, and feed the demon to complete satisfaction. That's the 3rd step. The 4th step is the ally step. And in the ally step, you have 2 options. One is that the demon itself became the ally, and the other is if it's not the ally, what the demon became, or if it has dissolved completely, you invite the ally. So in the 4th step, you visualize the ally or see the ally in whichever of those 2 ways it works for you, which is either seeing what it dissolved into or inviting the ally. And then you invite the ally to be present, and you ask the ally 4 questions. And then you change places and become the ally, and the ally answers those questions. And then you come back into your own body. So that's all the 4 steps. So the whole ally process is the 4th step. And then the 5th step is after you have had that encounter with the ally, and the ally dissolves into you, and then you dissolve and you rest in open awareness or whatever's present after the dissolution. That's the 5th step, which might seem not so important, but actually the 5th step is, in a sense, the goal of the whole practice, because you're now free of self and other, and you're simply resting in an open awareness. And that's the 5th step. Well, the cutting through in the Chöd practice is cutting through ego clinging. And so in the process of doing this, we, in a sense, cut through clinging to self because we offer our bodies, right? We dissolve our bodies into nectar, and we offer them really to that which we would generally fight against. So that's a cutting of the ego. And then the disillusion that happens in the process of feeding the demon, that is a cutting through of phenomena. of the external appearances, in this case, a demon. And so at the end, when we rest in the fifth step, we've cut through clinging to self and appearances. Yeah, that can be challenging, especially if you're not used to doing that kind of thing. So there's a couple of things in the beginning that we did fairly quickly that I want to explain a little bit more about. And one is, what do I work with? What is a demon? What are we doing here? So a way to think about our demons is, what's draining me right now? Maybe it's a fixation of some kind, an obsession. Maybe it's a fear. Maybe it's an emotional thing that just happened in our lives. Who knows? We have a lot of them, and everybody has one. And everybody usually has a few waiting in line. And these are the things that we fight against, that we just wish we didn't have that particular whatever it is. So that's how you can know what a demon is and what you might work with. And the good thing is, you don't have to do it just once. You can do it over a period of time. Many different demons may emerge. Often people ask, well, what if I have a core demon? It's obviously not going to disappear with one feeding. When I do it again, does it look the same? Do I find it the same place in my body? And the answer is no. You go at it as though you're doing it for the first time, each time, even though it's the same demon. And I do suggest that if you have a core demon, that you do it a number of times, and don't wait until it's really erupting, but make a decision. Okay, I know this is a core demon. I'm going to do this over a certain period of time. I suggest a month, a daily practice, but that's up to you. So that's one thing. And then the other question that you asked that's a really good question, because that is a tricky moment of, how do I take it from this feeling I have in my body to be personified as a being in front of me? And so what helps a lot with that is, if you really stay in the sensation of your body, and you stay with that color, that shape, that texture, that temperature, rather than thinking, how am I going to make this? What does this look like? You just stay with that and then kind of allow it. And I think allow is a good word, because the unconscious doesn't like to be commanded. And so you allow it to take shape in front of you, to be personified. And some people say, well, I'm just making it up. And yeah, you are making it up. That's okay. It's okay to make it up. In some sense, it's like a dream image, it's something that emerges from the unconscious that we do make up. So don't worry about that. Don't think, oh no, I'm just making this up. This isn't my real demon. Just first thought, best thought. Let's see what appears. And then those questions that you ask of, how big is it? Does it have a gender? Does it have a color? What's its density? What's its skin like? And so on. And then what's the look in its eyes often is the key moment when you suddenly get real contact with it. So all those specific questions are very important. And as I have taught this over many years, those questions have been developed in a very specific sequence and way. So it's that's what I would say about that moment. The other thing is, if at any point in the process you have trouble, let's say you're not seeing an ally, or you're not seeing the demon, or the demon's not being fed to complete satisfaction, there's a little key phrase that you can use, which is, if I could see it, what would it look like? If it was fed to complete satisfaction, what would it look like? And so if I could, and then wherever you're stuck, and that sort of goes around that block of the unconscious, because the unconscious may tend to block the process, because in a sense, we are attached to our demons. We have even though we think we don't like them and we'd love to transform them or process them through or actually get rid of them, our demons, in a way, are part of our identity. You know, who would I be without my problem? So there can be some unconscious blockage, and then those few words, if I could see it, or if I could, that will break through that. Yes, yes. So if we think about it, let's say you have a fear. That's your demon. Let's say you have a fear of flying. And so that is taking up quite a lot of energy, right? That energy is locked up in that demon. Or let's say you have an addiction. There's a lot locked up in that addiction. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of struggle to get whatever the substance is, and so on. So if we think of demons as really just energy that's gotten blocked somehow, somewhere, once that energy is nurtured and allowed to get what it really needs, let's say with an addiction, what's the calling under that addiction? What's the need that we're trying to satisfy with that substance? So once that need is nurtured instead of being fought against, then that energy that's been locked up in the demon is still there, but it's free. And so it's actually a tremendous amount of energy. And so that's what the ally is the freed energy of the nurtured demon. Well, I'll just say what I did today, because it is personal, but I don't mind sharing it, and it's I remember it. It's right here. So I worked with the sort of longing for love, and longing for love that I feel since my husband died. And so what that looked like was it was a female figure, and pink, kind of almost like a rubbery kind of consistency. And when I looked, and that question of notice something you didn't see before, I noticed that she was actually wet with tears. She was covered with tears. She didn't have clothes. It wasn't like a human, but it was a female figure, and she was sad. That was the look in her eyes. And so then the ally was interesting. The ally was also female and had a big red heart in her heart center, and tall, and kind of like wearing a white robe, and very loving eyes. And then the interesting thing was, when I asked how notice something you didn't see before, I noticed that she was really strong, that she was muscly. And at first she looked kind of etheric almost, but then when I saw she was strong, and that was the in How Can I Access You, she said, stand up and feel your strength. So that was my demon, my ally. It is shamanic. In the practice of the traditional practice, you undergo your own death during the process of transforming your body into nectar. And of course, if you dissolve into nectar, you do undergo your own death. And that's a typical shamanic initiation process, is to undergo your own death and then to be devoured by the very demons that then later on you can heal. So the traditional shamanic initiation is undergoing some sort of dismemberment, death, some sort of process like that. And then that which devours you becomes the diseases that you can heal, which I think is a great metaphor, because we are the best healers for diseases that we have had. And because we know it, we know the territory. So in the shamanic process, you undergo your own death, you're dismembered, and then you're remembered, which I think is a great word because it's really the remembering that is the healing. And so the Chöd practice does come from shamanic roots in Tibet. The drum is like a shamanic drum. It's done to a certain rhythm, and actually various rhythms. And the Chöd it's also sometimes done as a funeral ritual and an exorcism in some cases. But fundamentally, the way the Chöd is practiced is as a Buddhist practice with a combination of Buddhist Mahayana understanding of emptiness and Prajñāpāramitā, and then this shamanic journey into the underworld and back.